Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about an issue of Superman. This is Superman issue 34. The cover has Golden Age Superman standing next to a floating, literal red cross telling you to donate blood. This comic released on May 2nd, 1945, cover date of May to June 1945. This is Superman in the Golden Age in all his glory. The first story is called The United States Navy, written by Don C. Cameron. The whole issue was penciled by Sam Citron and inked by George Russos. The story is about Clark Kent going on an assignment for the Daily Planet, writing about the Navy, and he meets an old Metropolis high schooler, Shep Shepard. In the past, Shep and two teammates, Al White and Dan Ryan, were too cocky playing football, and so Superman decided to teach them a lesson by making them lose a practice game against freshmen. I think this should have been written as Superboy did this, since Superboy first appeared January 1945, about 5 months earlier, but I guess it was too soon or they didn't think of that or just didn't want to. Anyway, the reason Superman did this, and he was so fast no one saw him move the ball and trip players, etc., was to teach the three jocks about the importance of teamwork. The story then goes through a battle, and the three football players each are in one part of the Navy, the sea, the air, and the battleships. You know. Anyway, the sub lets the battleships hit the Imperial Japanese ships, but the sub gets hit and needs rescue, so the airplanes locate them and the sub's crew are saved. Superman does two things here inconspicuously, and it's more of a celebration / praise story for the real world US Navy. Not much to say, the new characters only appear in this one story. I like that each member thought their place in the Navy was the best one and the two other friends were weird. Actually, the friendship was written very well here. The three bros kept insulting each other and laughing at the end. I was honestly surprised how good the dialogue was here. Now, there is a quick story all about Lois Lane titled Framed by Mo Henders, written by Whitney Ellsworth. Perry White sends Lois Lane out to get a written confession against Mo Henders' political gang. Well, the guy who gave Lois the confession, he asks her to read it out loud and was only going to record the ending of the paper to frame her boss, Perry White. She sees this and attacks the guy and runs. Lois Lane gets tripped up with a mop, okay, and pulls out a gun. Well, funny, it's a fake gun, a candy gun she bought earlier in the story, and the police arrest Moke's henchman, and the cop laughs at the bad guy since he got tricked by a fake gun, and it's spelled out that Superman isn't needed all the time. Clark appears in two panels here, and he appears in ways where he's almost cut out of the frame. The next Superman story is called The Canyon That Went Berserk. This story is made by the same people who made the last Superman story. Up front, I don't really like these stories where the event didn't really happen, it's just a story that's made up in the universe. It's a boring day, so Clark Kent goes to a fortune teller and sees a story of a future event. Yeah, right. Where Clark and Lois are on a trip to the Daily Planet and a mountain has an avalanche and Clark changes into Superman very quickly in time to save them. But Lois discovers that Clark Kent is really Superman when he does this. When Superman returns, Lois points out how funny it is she looked down on Clark Kent when he's really Superman, who is the world's greatest superhero. I really like that when Lois discovers this, her first thought isn't to expose him for attention for their newspaper, but is just a different realization in her normal day-to-day with Clark as a co-worker. Since this story is all just an image Superman sees, there's not much I want to point out here. Superman makes some jokes or just talks funny when he does a superhero action and is able to dig through a mountainside with just his hands. The villain of this story never appears again and never appeared beforehand. Even though the context here in this future moment is it's a criminal who's reformed, apparently. The crook is named King Conn, C-O-N-N. Okay, that is a funny bad guy name. He wanted gold, but it turns out it was really fool's gold he was after. Now, the last story is my favorite one. It's titled When the World Got Tired. It was written by Bill Finger. Today is a strange day for Clark Kent. He first sees a woman too lazy to pick up a $10 bill, so she asks Clark to pick it up for her. His boss, Perry White, is too lazy to work or force anyone else to work. Clark then takes Lois to a track meet, but the runners just don't run and lay down, and then a bank robbery happens. Clark changes into Superman and grabs the bank robber's loot, but gets distracted with a falling plane. It was falling because the pilot was too lazy to pull himself out of a tailspin. Superman then flies around the world and sees that all the other cities in the US have been affected by this sudden laziness. Although, honestly, I would look for the criminals because they are the only ones who are not lazy besides Superman. Well, that's not true right after this because there are two other people who are not lazy. A man and his daughter. Superman find out that they are wearing red metal charms. They used to be gray. Superman takes off one of the daughter's charms, and she becomes lazy. The man tells Superman he got the metal from a meteor pit in Texas. Superman finds that the meteor was a disguised spaceship and uses a piece of the meteor to track where the ship is now. He gets the idea to smash the meteor into such small pieces and spread it across the USA so the people breathe it in and become cured forever from the lazy beam the aliens fired over the country. Is this story crazy yet? When this happens, some hired men of the Superman are supervillain of the issue. Superman's greatest enemy? Lex Luthor. Yes, it's another story with Lex Luthor. Lex worked with the aliens to make everyone in the world lazy so that he would send his men out to get important institutions like banks, steel plants, and a governor under control. When the country gets its sense back, his henchmen are kicked out promptly. Yeah, Lex Luthor decides to team up with these new aliens to take over the country. Lex Luthor knows he can easily take over when everyone is too lazy to stop him. And he also has one button to press that threatens Superman if he tries to stop him, because when he presses the button, people will become too lazy to even breathe. I find this story crazy, but very entertaining. So, after Superman cured everyone, he returns to the spaceship with no Luthor on board. Yeah, Lex Luthor gets away in the end. We don't see him physically get away, but he just gets away with his evil plan. The UFO's weaponry doesn't even affect Superman, so to escape him, the aliens kill themselves by blowing up their UFO. The aliens really did this because they were the last of their race. They had been trapped on Earth for 40,000 years, and Lex Luthor found them and just used them. The fandom says this is Lex Luthor's 13th evil plan in comics, but I'm 99% sure this is Lex Luthor's 14th appearance ever in comics, so he probably had one appearance where he didn't really do anything. And those were my thoughts on Superman issue 34. I was really surprised how well the dialogue between characters was, especially for something that came out almost exactly 80 years ago, give or take 1 or 2 months. Well, with that said, I thank you for watching and have a good day.